to The Car Guy with your host, Klaus Kindor. Currently, Klaus owns Classic Car Holdings, LLC here in Spokane, a boutique dealer specializing in vintage, collectible, and contemporary automobiles. The Car Guy is sponsored in part by European Auto House and Can-Am Body Shop. Here's Klaus.
Well, I'm Kent Adams, and welcome to The Car Guy. I'm the last guy that should be talking about cars, okay? If it doesn't turn on when I put the key in, and today, in a lot of your cars, you don't have to put the key in.
That
right?
is true.
But Klaus Kindor
Morning, Kent.
How are you?
I'm good. How are you?
You're actually the host of this program, and in another couple weeks, hopefully you'll kick me off and do this yourself, because you're going to have some guests in and everything
I'll still
else.
be terrified.
Oh, gee. Terrified. Give me a break.
I'll still be terrified. First thing I got to do this morning, happy anniversary, honey.
Oh, okay.
Got to get that in.
Yeah, you get to live tonight.
There you go. There you go.
In so many ways.
Absolutely.
Okay.
Absolutely.
Good for you. Good for you.
Thanks.
That's important. How many years?
Oh, gosh, 5.
5.
Yes.
Okay. She's had to put up with you for 5 years.
Yeah, she's put up with me for a lot longer than that, which makes her a saint.
I think we'll take a moment of silence. No, I'm kidding. Klaus, you know, one of the things that you and I have talked about, and I think a lot of people talk about these days, and it's totally different in Southern California and that's whether you finance a car, which means buying it, because most people aren't going to pay full cash for it, okay? Or leasing.
Right.
In California, when I go there, I know probably 80% or more have leased their cars, including family and everybody else there. That's not quite the case in this area. So my question to you is, in this episode, and then we're going to, in the next episode, actually go through the numbers, which I think will be really helpful for people. Right. But let's talk in generalities right now. And what is the difference? Why lease over buying a car?
Good question. Okay. Great question, Ken. I mean, it's a really great question. And you're right. A lot of people down south do lease their automobiles more often than they do buy cars. Yeah. Perhaps because they're simply more accustomed to it. Okay. Than we are up here, and maybe they're exposed to it more than we have been up here.
On the broadcast media and newspapers and everything else too, and families, neighbors.
Sure, absolutely. What I found after moving back up here, people are they're simply just not really well educated when it comes to leasing an automobile versus buying a car. And I'm not going to sit here and tell you need to do this or you need to do that. Right. But it would. I think it's beneficial for me to help our viewers understand that there may be an alternative to financing a car where leasing may be more attractive. It may be more affordable than financing an automobile. Right.
And we're all about that on the Car Guy show, is really the education process for the consumer out there. Right. So that they can be smart and ask the smart questions of the salespeople and the working people there at the car dealer and everything else.
Exactly right. Yeah. And I can't tell you how many times I've been asked, should I buy or should I lease?
I'll bet.
It's been often. And it's really not my position to tell you how to do this or what to do.
Okay.
But if you're somebody who likes to replace your automobile often, and I'll regress for just a moment. I have spoken to so many people who said this is going to be my last car.
Yes,
this is going to be my last car. I'm never going to buy another automobile as long as I live. And 2 years later, they're bored to tears, and they want something else. Yes. What leasing allows us to do, what leasing affords us to do, is to walk into a dealership and acquire a new automobile with very little, if no money out of pocket.
Okay.
And if you remember last episode, there were 3 things that I talked about that were important when it comes to buying or acquiring a car. Do you love the car?
Yes.
How much money are you putting out of pocket?
Yes.
And what are you writing a check for every month?
Right.
And if those 3 things are perfect, if they all line up and the stars all line up, you have found the perfect automobile.
But we all get a little antsy and we see what the guy down the street has and so forth, right? Yeah.
Sure we do. Absolutely we do. Do I necessarily want to keep up with the Joneses? I'm not sure if I do, but the reality of it is...
But we're intrigued by it.
We are intrigued by it. And leasing allows me as a consumer to perhaps acquire a little bit more car than I had originally thought, and still keep the payments or the monthly expense to a level that I'm comfortable with.
Okay.
And no, I don't ever own the automobile. I will agree to that. A lot of people say, well, I never owned the car. That's true.
But isn't it depreciating when you own it?
Terribly.
Yes.
As a matter of fact, automobiles outside of perhaps a yacht are the most the most terrible depreciating asset we can ever acquire,
Right.
and yet they're also the second most expensive thing we will ever probably acquire outside of our homes, right? So again, do I love it? How much money out of pocket? And what am I writing a check for every month? That's what becomes important. We do, however, have to live within certain limits when we're leasing an automobile. I can't drive the car as often as I want to and put 100,000 miles a year on it.
Right.
I am limited.
Why is that?
Well, leasing, basically what you're doing is you're renting the car. You're renting a portion of the car's value over a specific amount of time.
And they give you an expected number of miles
Yes.
that you would do that. 12,000 or 15,000, I think, are kind of the standard.
Those are the norm. And,
Right.
and a 36-month term is normally the best when it comes to what's referred to as a residual value.
Okay.
And we'll get into the terminology
of
how a lease is done and the language of the lease a little bit later in the show.
Okay.
But what I really want to point out is, again, if you're somebody who drives a lot of miles or you don't take care of a car as nicely, right? Then by all means, buy the automobile.
Okay.
But if you're
because you own it, and you own the miles, and you own the money,
you own it. You're going to own it
the
forever.
shape it's in, and everything else, right?
If you're going to own the car forever, most certainly consider financing the car, or buying the car. Leasing, again, we're limited to how many miles per year we can drive the automobile, and if you can't do that, then don't lease an automobile.
Right.
If you ever hear a salesperson say, "Don't worry about the miles, we'll take care at the end," run.
Yeah, because they will take care of it, all right.
If you ever hear somebody say, "Don't worry about it, bring it back early," run. You're going to be signing a contractual agreement for X amount of miles and X amount of times, and it is, for all intents and purposes, set in stone.
Yes.
Okay.
Yes.
It cannot be altered by anybody at the dealership. So that you do need to take in consideration, right? Before you lease a car. The advantages, however, when it comes to leasing an automobile, there are numerous advantages.
Okay.
For an example, you pay tax on an automobile here in Washington State of 9%.
Okay.
I know the sales tax rate is 8.7 something percent, but when you're purchasing an automobile, the tax rate's 9%.
Okay.
When you're leasing an automobile, you're only paying tax on the portion of the car that you're leasing.
Okay.
So you're not
for that
paying,
amount of time as well.
Exactly. You're paying sales tax on the monthly rental.
Okay.
So your sales tax per month would be, as an example, $10 or $12 per month, rather than if you're talking about a $40,000 car at 9%.
Well,
you're coming up with all that tax money up front.
Not that you could find a car for $10,000, but if you're buying a $10,000 car, that's $900 in tax.
Exactly.
Okay, so double that for a $20,000. That's $1,800. Okay?
Exactly right.
Because you're essentially taxed on the entire car and the value of the entire car.
That is exactly
right. But
correct.
if it's a 3-year lease, and you pay that monthly, I believe.
Correct.
You're paying for what the rent is, if you will.
Exactly right. So the advantage
that can
there
be significant in terms of dollars.
Absolutely. And remember, when you're buying a car or acquiring an automobile, you're paying sales tax up front.
Yes,
that's coming in your down payment.
Yes,
that money's coming out of your pocket.
Yeah.
When it comes to leasing versus buying, again, the thing that matters to me as a consumer is how much money am I going to put out of my pocket initially.
Right.
And $10,000, $12,000, $13,000, $15,000 to take out of my pocket. That's a big chunk of change. Those green dollar bills are hard to come by. They're even harder to keep. So the question comes to me, or that I want to pose,
sometimes you don't want to give up that cash either.
Exactly. Why do I want to put $10,000, $12,000, $15,000 into something that's going to lose me money?
Yes.
It just doesn't make sense to do that to me. There are also advantages. There can be tax advantages if you're self-employed or if it's a corporate car. There can be advantages that can be realized by either you or the corporation in relationship to payment.
And it's so especially good for small business owners.
Oh, absolutely. Absolutely. I think so. The other thing that it affords you to do is it allows you to get a new car every 3 years.
Yeah.
And I'm all into that.
Yeah, I don't think that's a hard sell when it comes to you.
No, I mean, three weeks later, I'm bored.
I was going to say, can you really, honestly, between us kids, can you last 3 years?
No.
Oh, okay, I didn't think so.
I've done it.
Yeah. but it's not really in your character,
exactly
is it?
right.
No.
And the other thing that we might want to look at is, most car warranties, new cars warranties today are 3 years or 36,000 miles, or 4 years, 50,000 miles.
So you're covered during the lease.
Exactly. Yeah. And I don't need to worry about long-term operating expenses. Mm-hmm. I'll service the car. right? I'll take care of what needs to be taken care of over this first 3 years or so, but the car really isn't going to require much.
But you don't worry about the 100,000-mile tune-up and everything
or the
else.
60,000-mile service or anything else. Exactly right.
right.
So it helps me spend less money over the time that I've actually had the car as well, which is a benefit. So there are a lot of benefits to leasing. But again, we have to be in a position whereby leasing works for us. We have to keep the miles within the contractual limits of the lease. We have to keep the car 36 months.
Yes.
Right.
Yep.
And again, if you're being told differently.
No, because it's what's in writing.
Exactly right.
That counts.
Exactly right.
We have a couple of sponsors. Before we go to our break, let's mention who they are.
We've got the great folks at European Auto House.
Okay.
Greg Leinefelter, who owns that store, is a remarkable guy. He really is, and his staff is wonderful. I've been in this business 40 years.
And where are they located?
They're located in Airway Heights, off of Geiger and Thorpe.
Okay.
If you own a BMW, Porsche, Mercedes-Benz, Audi, Volkswagen, he's the guy.
Okay, that's why I haven't been there.
He's the guy.
Okay.
He really is the guy.
Yeah.
And like I said, I've been in this business a long time. I have never met anybody with more integrity than the folks at
Boy, and that counts today, doesn't it?
It does.
And the other sponsor?
Can-Am Auto Body is owned by Jay Brisney and his wonderful wife, Carla. They're a family-oriented business. They've been in business 50 years here in Spokane.
Really?
They do great work. I would highly recommend them if your car needs body work or paint.
Well, good.
bet.
It's great to have them along for the ride.
Yeah,
Excuse the
they're
pun.
good folks.
We're going to take a quick break, and when we come back, we're going to talk about the language of leasing and buying and so forth right after these messages.
This is River Ridge Frame Shop, called Frame It Today, where we can take your art, customize it, and get it ready to hang on the wall. Here at River Ridge Hardware, 2803 West Garland.
Welcome to a new kind of talk show, Spokane Talks, where you find news, views, and conversations that include respect for opinions, facts, and diversity.
Spokane Talks, Saturdays at 8 a.m. on Fox 28.
Hello there, Internet. My name is Braden Magruder, and I'm just coming out of the Spokane Talks building, and I'm excited to bring to you guys a new announcement that I am going to be the new host of the Youth Spotlight program. Now, our old host, Colin, he's off to Texas Christian University to pursue a degree in theater and broadcasting, and you know what? That's great for him, but that's what I like to call adulting. And you know, I don't think that we have time for adulting with the Youth Spotlight program. What the Youth Spotlight program is here to do is to bring to you guys news, the greatest news of some of the most amazing people here throughout Spokane that are, just going in high school, maybe about to go into college, you know. These people are achieving life streams and they are so young. And I think that these are stories that you guys should know about. And I'm so excited to be bringing them to you. Now, I'm a Spokane native myself. I've been performing throughout Spokane in various different shows. I just closed the show of Music Man, and you know, I guess I like long walks on the beach, keeping my business attire, while also keeping my French fry socks on close at hand. You know, it's going to be a great year, and I'm so excited to be your guys' host. So tune into Youth Spotlight to watch me interview some of the most amazing people. Thank you and have a great day.
Well, welcome back to The Car Guy, and The Car Guy is Kindor. No.
Either way.
Klaus Kindor.
Either way.
Okay.
It doesn't matter.
Well, you answer to everything, right?
Yes, I do.
Okay,
Yes, I
especially
do.
if there's a beer in front of you.
Absolutely.
Okay, all right. A German beer.
A German beer.
Absolutely.
Must be a German beer.
Must be a German beer. Okay. Hey, one of the things that I've heard from people about the leasing, I think everybody understands the financing kinds of things for buying a car. Mm-hmm. I mean, rarely do people pay cash today and they finance, and you see a lot of the ads out today for 0 or 0.9% financing and so forth. But where I think a lot of people get hung up, and maybe in our area too, is the leasing. The language is new to them.
Yeah.
So therefore, well, I'll go the old route because my parents did that or my grandparents did that.
Or I'm terrified of leasing because my parents or my grandparents got, just
messed up.
royally,
Yeah.
you know what, during this
But
lease.
all that's changed.
Yes.
Okay.
Yeah.
Let's talk about what are some of the terms and what's some of the language that we should know.
You bet. And you're right, leasing has changed dramatically over the last 15, 20 years.
Right, right.
It was so terrifying to some because they didn't understand how it worked or the terminology that's being used.
Right.
So we're going to try to make that as simple as we possibly can. There is different terminology used, but the thing that we really need to understand is that leasing today is far less complicated than it used to be. We're now dealing with closed-end leases. There are no more open-end leases, and I really don't need to go into why.
No, I don't
but
even have to explain.
Exactly right. But yes, there is different terminology that we need to look at when we're looking at a lease. MSRP is an example. Manufacturer's suggested retail price or sticker price.
Yes.
When we look at leases, the sticker, the residual value, what the manufacturer or the lender believes the car is going to be worth at the end of 36 years.
36 months.
36 months and 36,000 miles. I'm still nervous. I told you that. Is established by the lender. And the residual value is basically what they think the car is going to be worth at the end of the term.
So if it's a $20,000 car, they believe it's going to be worth about $9,000 after 3 years or $12,000.
Gosh, I hope not.
Should be worth
but
more.
this is the residual is something we need to pay attention to. Now the residual
what
value.
What questions should we ask then?
What is the residual value of the car?
Okay.
And what the residual value is what the lender believes. After calculating everything out, the car's value should be
with normal use and everything else
after 36 months and 36,000 miles of driving or 45,000 miles of driving.
Right.
And those residuals are calculated in percentages.
Okay.
So if we have a 50% residual on a car, that's a terrible residual.
Really? Okay.
That means the manufacturer already or the lender.
Already thinks it's going to
already knows,
dip.
Not thinks.
Oh, okay.
But they're estimating that the car is going to be worth about 50% of what we pay for it.
Ooh.
Yes.
Okay.
At the beginning of the lease. 50% is a terrible residual. Unfortunately,
should it be often?
Well, it's a very, very, very good question because it depends on how many cars are out there, what they have in inventory, what the lender believes the car is going to be worth, again, at the end of 36 months. And this is an educated guess by them.
Yes.
The higher the residual, the better for the consumer.
Okay.
Because you're renting less of the car's value.
Okay.
As an example, let's say we've got a $50,000 automobile.
Okay.
And let's say the residual is 50%.
Okay.
That means you're going to rent $25,000 of that car's value plus the cost of the money.
Okay.
If the car has a 60% residual, which is great,
right?
And some manufacturers do have residuals that high, you're now renting only 40% of that car's initial value plus the cost of the money. So your payment is going to be less.
Yes.
And this becomes important even when we're buying an automobile or financing a car. It might be a good idea to find out what that residual value is.
Okay.
Because if you're buying that $50,000 car and the manufacturer is saying we only think it's going to be worth 50%.
Right.
Is this a car you want to buy?
You're probably throwing away some money. Yeah.
Yeah, I may want
because you talked before about the depreciation and the cost of buying a car, and if it's 50%, that means it's going faster than the norm.
Right.
Right.
Exactly right.
Okay.
So, as a consumer, I need to concern myself over this. You know, how much value is this car going to retain over the next 3 years?
Right.
And of course, the higher the residual, the better for the consumer.
Yeah. Okay.
So that's a big deal. There's also something called a money factor. And the money factor is basically your finance rate, your 3.9 or 0.9% or whatever the case may be. But it's figured a little bit differently on a lease. They use what's referred to as a money factor, kind of like a credit card balance. When you look at your credit card balance at the end of the month, you get your statement, and it says calculated on an average loan balance of at 0.00275 or whatever the case may be.
Based on the last 28 days or 30 days. Right.
So what you do is you take that figure, let's say 0.00169, multiply it by 2,400. Don't ask me why. That's the math.
Okay.
And it'll give you your effective 4% interest rate.
Oh, okay.
So again, leases are just calculated on an average loan balance. They use a money factor rather than a finance or interest rate. It all means the same thing.
Well, and these are all new terms, and I can see why maybe somebody's going, wait a second.
Yeah, it can become a little bit confusing, and this is where I think salespeople, if you're helping people buy automobiles, you really need to know this stuff
Yeah.
so you can help your client make a intelligent buying decision based on what they're looking
I
at.
might say in our next program, which we'll do in 2 weeks, you're going to outline that and show some examples, right?
Exactly
so
right.
That
We'll
will
do
be a
the
good
math.
one. We'll do the math.
We'll do
That's
the
the
math,
way to
and
say
so
it,
you can
yes.
better understand, okay, is this a way for me to go, or
Right.
perhaps should I look at doing
Right.
this? Lease is also when you'll have a monthly payment just like you would on your normal
Sure.
car, but you'll have a monthly payment plus tax.
Okay.
Again,
right.
you're paying sales tax only on the portion that you're renting.
For those 24 or 36 months.
Exactly right. You're not paying sales tax on the entire sale price of the car.
Right, right.
You have a disposition fee.
Okay.
Does
that mean if I have a bad disposition,
then we're going to charge you more. Exactly
Okay.
right. What that basically means, and some manufacturers or some lenders charge a disposition fee, some do not. And what it basically means that if you decide not to buy the car at the end of the term,
Okay.
or should you not acquire another automobile from that manufacturer
Okay.
at the end of the term,
Okay.
they're going to charge you X amount of dollars.
It's a little penalty. if you-
Well, kind of. What it does is it helps them to get the car basically shipped to a wholesale auction where I buy cars
Okay.
for my clients.
Okay.
Right?
Right.
And
Okay.
they dispose
So
of the
covering
car.
that cost.
Exactly right.
Okay.
Exactly right.
Wow.
Now, a lot of people say, well, gosh, I'm so afraid of taking the car back. What am I going to get charged for?
Yes.
And that's a legitimate question.
Yes.
You do need to take care of the car.
Yes.
As you would your own automobile, hopefully.
Right.
You know, if it gets damaged, you're going to fix it.
Right.
But basically what happens at the end of the lease term is the manufacturer is not expecting a brand new car back.
Right.
They're expecting an automobile that's 3 years old
Right.
that has 36,000 miles on it
Right.
or 45,000 miles on it.
Right.
But here's what they do expect. They expect the car to have been maintained.
Right.
Okay, cool.
Yeah.
They expect the tires to be in good usable condition.
Okay.
Perfect. They expect the windshield to be intact and free of stars or cracks.
Okay.
Okay, cool. And anything smaller than about, I don't know, $50,
Okay.
dent, ding, scratch, whatever the case may be, it's free. Anything else you're going to most likely fix anyhow.
Yeah.
Right. So there's no big deal about returning an automobile.
Because
However,
you would take care, theoretically.
one would hope.
Your own car.
Right,
Right.
right. So it's really no different than turning your own automobile. You're going to take care of it. You're going to maintain it.
Yeah.
So they're really not expecting a brand new car back. There is, however, a caveat to leasing an automobile. That residual value is contractual.
Okay.
So let's say, as an example, I buy this $50,000 or I lease this $50,000 car,
Yeah.
and I have a 50% residual just to
Right.
keep the math easy.
Yes.
At the end of the term, I can buy the car for $25,000.
Okay.
Okay, plus
Okay.
tax,
Right.
Because I've only paid sales tax on the portion of the
the
automobile that
first-
I've used,
right.
right? Or I can hand you the keys back,
Right.
give you very little money,
Right.
and walk out or drive out with a brand new automobile.
Okay.
If your car has been damaged and you own it,
Okay. Yes.
and it's been repaired, and there is a Carfax, a negative Carfax that has been damaged, or a negative auto check that the car's been damaged, and you go to trade that car in.
Okay.
Now all of a sudden you've got a new car manager or a used car manager who's going to appraise your car, and then one of the first things they're going to do is they're going to pull up a vehicle history report, no matter which one it is.
Yeah.
And if it's got a
Yeah,
negative report,
and I see you replace the door because you got hit or whatever.
well, it doesn't necessarily say what was damaged,
Okay.
but there's a negative report on the car.
Okay.
The car now has less value to the dealer.
Ah.
As a leased automobile, if the repair work was done well, I hand back the keys and I don't worry about
Right.
the value of the car.
But if Uncle Fred did it for you.
You know, if Uncle Fred did it for you and he does good work, good on Uncle
Yeah,
Fred.
but
you know?
we all have that same Uncle Fred, though.
But if the car's been repaired
So then,
and there's a damage report, your car has less value as a trade-in.
so then I owe the difference because it isn't of the value that I said.
No, not on a lease.
Oh.
Not on a lease. You do not owe the difference. That's the big
Oh,
plus.
okay,
That's the big plus.
okay.
If you, however, own the car,
Yes.
and you trade the car in,
Okay.
and there is a damage report,
I see. Okay.
now
All
the
right.
car is worth less.
Okay.
The residual value determined on the lease is contractual.
Okay. So they're taking a chance. You're taking a chance.
And again, let's use this 50% rule.
Yeah.
The car has a 25% residual or $25,000 residual, right? That's contractual.
Yeah. Okay.
You know, if the economy goes to hell in a handbasket
Right.
and the car's really worth $16,000, you don't owe that difference.
Yeah. Might be a time to
That's a
just
big
turn
plus.
the keys back.
Absolutely.
Right?
That's a
Yeah.
big
Okay.
plus.
Well, all right. So next time we're going to talk talk the math.
Yes.
Right, and walk people through. And I think, and we'll actually put it up on the screen and everything else, so that people can kind of see what's going on.
We'll do a direct comparison of a lease on a car.
Okay.
With the same selling price, and get to the same payment.
Yep. Side by side.
And then you can make a decision as to which is most cost effective for you.
Yeah. Well, we're all kind of visual people, and I think that will help.
I hope so.
All right, Klaus, good to see you again.
Thanks,
Thank
Ken.
you. Thanks for all the information. And thanks to our two sponsors, and they are
European Auto House and Can-Am Auto Body.
All right, we appreciate them very much
Thanks
for bringing
very much.
this program. We'll see you in 2 weeks right here on Spokane Talks.
Thanks,
with
folks.
The Car Guy.
Thanks for watching. The Car Guy is produced in Spokane, Washington by SpokaneTalksMedia.com, which is solely responsible for its content. The Car Guy is sponsored in part by European Auto House and Can-Am Body Shop. Ask Klaus a question, recommend a guest, or hear this program again on Facebook, YouTube, Twitter, Apple Podcasts, Spotify, or SpokaneTalksMedia.com.